System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' inner city left.
This is Amin TMK. Welcome to Inner City Left. Something I wanted to talk about today is modernization. We hear about this all the time. Modernization. What does that look like in 2023 in this 21st century as we're moving forward? And a lot of people like to look at countries in the global south as places that need to modernize. It also needs to happen in the Western world. And here I am, I'm an American, here I am in America. The three, I don't want to say most famous, but the biggest cities, possibly the most famous cities in the United States, would include, in my opinion, probably yours, New York City, Chicago, Illinois, and Los Angeles. California, as a person who's been to all three of those cities multiple times, I can tell you for a fact those places are crumbling. When you go to New York, maybe the most famous city in the world, their vaunted subway system in tatters. It is a place for indigent people to live, to survive. As you can see, that creates a lot of problems. A black man was just murdered at the hands of a white tourist in New York City. And obviously, there are not enough homeless shelters. There are not enough places where people can go who are not able to afford New York rent, which is some of the most expensive rent in the world, completely unaffordable. There are a lot of studies that come out that say, making $100,000 in New York feels like $30,000 in your average American city, and it's an unsustainable city. If you go there, there's trash all over the place. All you really see everywhere are police officers, and over-policing, again, in New York City is rampant everywhere you go. You talk about the, the broken window policy, where if you stopped all minor crimes, that would stop major crimes, and it was just another way to arrest brown and black people and POCs, also just poor indigent people, and that includes white people as well. I can say the same thing about Chicago, one of the most famous cities in America. And, when you hear all of these conservative, right-wing propagandists and politicians, their first thing they want to talk about is, Chicago, we got to go get control. And I think it is a shining example of how over-policing and the lack of resources in a beautiful, and Chicago actually is a beautiful place to go to. It's not like New York. It's some different, but I think when people think of Chicago, what are the first things that they're going to go with? Sort of this right-wing ideology of gang violence and things like that. And then that brings me to the City of Angels, a place I've been to several times. I think people know Los Angeles is probably known for three things: Hollywood, traffic, and Skid Row. If I say Skid Row, I think most people in the world know what that is. I've been there. I've seen it. The incredible amount of homelessness that you see there, the resources that are necessary. And this is what it looks like in an American city. When I'm here in Washington, D.C., when I go to the richest places, the capital of, supposed to be the hub of the world, America, the leaders of the world, of course, in quotes, you see indigent people, homeless people, people with no security. And where do we not see this? China. Bad guy. Just China's bad, everyone. Don't you know China is bad? But the president of the Solomon Islands, he went to China at the invitation of Xi Jinping and the Chinese government. And he said, there's no homelessness here. China is eradicating poverty. When you look at Beijing, when you look at Shanghai, Guangdong, when you look at these cities with dozens of millions of people, these are cities that are 3 times the size of New York City, yet you see no homelessness. And again, I'm not here to, maybe I am here to stand China, but obviously I don't live over there. I don't know the intricacies of everyday interpersonal life in China. But I do see cities with zero poverty. I do see cities with zero homelessness. And what do we have here in the United States? In Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, you've seen the epidemic of drug use and the lack of empathy from the United States government towards these people. And China's talking about that. When China's talking about the United States, they're talking about the opioid epidemic. And as a person who has personally been affected by the opioid epidemic, the Sackler family, when the Purdue Corporation, not the chicken, the Purdue Corporation, do your own research on that. I might do a video on that soon. You look at America and you say, this country is not modern. It hasn't modernized. But you go to China, you go to Russia, you go to Singapore, Abu Dhabi, when you go to Saudi Arabia, you're seeing incredible architecture. You're seeing people build modern cities. And what do I see in New York? Rats, turnstiles aren't being fixed. People don't have the money to even take the train. What do I see in Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia, and Los Angeles, and Houston, and Chicago, and Detroit? What do I see in Little Rock, Arkansas? What do I see in Miami, Florida? What do I see in Jacksonville and Atlanta? What do I see in Charlotte? What do I see in these great American cities? Homelessness, desperation, drug addiction, and no hope. So as we move forward, kind of like this whole idea of like America, worry about yourself, which is kind of our whole motto, or at least what I want to be talking about, America, worry about yourself. I just think it's important to think about American exceptionalism and your role and our role and my feelings and your feelings toward American exceptionalism. Maybe America isn't modern. Maybe they're the ones that need to modernize, and the places we can look to, the State Department is calling your enemy. So maybe we need to focus on our lives and how we can improve life here in America before we're constantly pointing fingers at the global South and saying, fix it, fix it, fix it. America, worry about yourself.
System riding to the core. Yeah. Reppin' in the city life.